G'day, I'm Mark from Self Sufficient Me, and I thought I would take the time out to give you guys an update on our gourd tunnel, which isn't a gourd tunnel anymore. As you can see, it is transformed from a overgrown gourd tunnel with all these loofers. You could use this as a sponge. We've got enough of them. Just grow out of control, which is one of the reasons why we decided to rip out all the gourds and start afresh, because we weren't using a ton of gourds. Quite frankly, we just had enough of them. It's not the season now anyway, so they were starting to struggle a bit, but we also got rid of the passion fruits that were growing over this side. So if you watch a fair bit of my content, and because this is posted on my second channel, Self Sufficient Me 2, not my main channel, which is Self Sufficient Me, you obviously probably have come from there and are well aware of the history of this gourd tunnel, the build and all that. There's videos on my main channel about it. But it was time to get rid of it all. Nina and I pulled it down. It was quite a session, and now I'm growing tomatoes on the inside here and peas on the other side. They're a dwarf pea. We'll see how they go. They'll get to about 1.5 meters high. And next to the peas, I'm going to be growing, or am growing, some beetroot. They're just starting to come up as well as the peas. So it's a success there. And on this side here, I've interplanted next to, or in the spaces between the tomatoes, some cucumbers. I've just sowed the seed. Some of them are starting to come up, others might not. Some of the seed was really old, so I just wanted to get rid of it and just see if it's viable. If not, I can cross plant, transplant out and fill the gaps, and we'll see how they go. Cucumbers don't do great through the middle of our winter, but I planted several different varieties, or sowed several different varieties, so we'll see how they go. You just never know. Sometimes you can get a variety that does quite well out of the ordinary, and then that's a keeper for me, and you lock that one in as one of your regulars. So I like to test. That's one of the reasons why I like to test a whole variety of different vegetables. Speaking of varieties, what have I got going? Well, here is a bit of an experiment. I'm not going to tell you too much about it. Patreons know already what's going on here. The main channel will find out exactly what's going on probably in about 3 or 4 months time when the experiment's over. But along here I've got a few tomato seedlings. I think they're a cherry tomato. They were self-seeded, they came up by themselves, and I've transplanted those seedlings out here, and pretty much a lot of these have self-seeded. Some of them I've bought from the nursery to get a bit of a head start, but most of the tomatoes I've grown myself. And then in front of the tomatoes here, I think I'll plant a few more root crops, maybe some carrots, but at this stage it's looking like turnips and possibly some swede in the front here, but I haven't started that yet. A couple of the varieties we've got up here that I've purchased is this one is a Gross Lissy, a pretty well famous Australian brand of tomato. Then we've got some blue balls. Is that what they're called? Blue balls? Pretty novel name. No, blueberries. Little blue balls, but actually called blueberries. A mortgage lifter, and these are a large beefsteak. These two at the end here. And I'm not quite sure, I can't remember the type of beetroot that I put in here. I think it was a medium variety from memory, but I'll be showing you that as I'm talking anyway, so, and flash maybe a name up on the screen. So me wondering about it now isn't really much of a purpose, is it? But yeah, at the end of the day, you can see the versatility of a structure like this, how you could grow those big viney crops over it. And indeed some tomato varieties are viney, but of course they won't grow out of control like a passion fruit or gourd does. And some peas grow even bigger as well, but again, I'm not growing the large variety of peas. You can get beans that'll grow like the clappers, especially some of those exotic beans like the Madagascan bean. That's a very strong grower, and it's a perennial as well. It'll last 2 or 3 years at least. Scarlet runner beans and plenty of other types of bean plants would grow fantastic on this. We've had snake beans before, they grow very well on here. So yeah, you can grow whatever. And on the inside, as usual, when you're not growing those trellis type plants, or even as you're growing those trellis type plants, you can intercrop with a root crop or a cabbage or a brassica, pretty much anything on the inside there as well, and utilize that inner area of bed. You might get a little bit of shading out because of those outer crops climbing over and taking a bit of sun. Generally large leafy crops like spinach and even root crops like beetroot with big leaves, generally they do okay in dappled shade. And anyway, usually there'll be enough sunlight through for those crops to get as much energy as they need. And the other thing that I wanted to let you know, and I talked about this in my podcast on Patreon, was the fact that I don't have the posts down the middle now. Did you notice that? They are to the outside, and it was just like couldn't see the forest for the trees moment when I thought, you know what, it's annoying having to dodge in between those posts all running down the middle, and I had to pull them out and move them when I had to mow down the middle through summer here. But instead I thought, would it be okay to move them to the side? And of course it is, it works perfectly. So I moved them all to the side, staggered them. I needed to put in a couple of extra posts and I used some wood for that. That's just some spare wood that I got from our renos. So that was just lying around for free. And there you have it. It really works a treat. I think it looks all right too. I mean, yeah, it looks a little, I mean, there's a few gaps here and there, and you know, it's fairly rustic, no doubt about that, because that steel's always going to rust. But overall, I'm really happy with the way it's going and the strength of the build, and more importantly, that it works. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little bit of a quick show you rummage through the Gourd tunnel, which is now repurposed. I don't think I'll be growing too many gourds in the future in there. I think we've had enough of them for now. I'm not saying never, we might go back to it, but I think we'll try some other crops in there in the meantime before we ever get back to gourds, and probably grow more things that we love to eat. Anyway, thanks for watching. Catches. I'm going to give this a bit of a water now. I know there's some of you thinking, Mark, you're going to grow a lot of beetroot and probably a lot of peas. And yeah, I hope so. I can feel a ton of beetroot and a ton of peas videos coming up. What are you guys still here? Well, you must love this type of content then, if you're still hanging around. And I appreciate that. You guys are my rock. Catches.